Hey guys, so in today's video I wanted to do this idea I've had for a while of a couple different kinds of books that I don't talk about very often on here. And those are the worst books I've read and books I've forgotten I read. This idea was started a while back when I was looking through my Goodreads list and came across a book that I had no recollection of reading or seeing in my life. So I deleted it from my Goodreads thinking that I had accidentally added it when I was scrolling through Goodreads on my phone, and then I went to read the description of the book to see what it was, and it slowly started to come back to me. Oh yeah, I have read this book. Whoops. And that book is Slide. Slide is a YA book about a girl who has narcolepsy basically, but instead of just falling asleep randomly, she falls into other people's bodies and witnesses what they do. And she witnesses someone kill her sister's best friend, I think. And I rated this book 4 stars. And I'm guessing that when I added it back on my Goodreads, it was only a few minutes later and I remembered seeing a 4-star rating that I had put with that book. But I don't remember really liking it that much. I barely remember it at all. But apparently it was 4-star worthy at the time. So the only review that I have written on my Goodreads of this book is, I have no memory of reading this, but apparently I did. Another book I forgot that I read was Me and Earl and the Dying Girl. And I definitely don't mean this video as an offense to the books or the authors or people who have liked these books. I just kind of forgot for a while that Me and Earl and the Dying Girl even existed. And when I was looking through my Goodreads to see if there were other books I'd forgotten about, I came across this one and thought, oh yeah, that's a book that exists. This one I rated 3 stars, and in my review I said that there were some stereotypical things about high school life, and overall it was entertaining, but the plot didn't feel original, and it felt like a mashup of several well-known books. So I definitely didn't like that one as much as other people did. I guess it didn't really have much of an impact on me because I kind of forgot about it for a while. And now on to books that I consider the worst books I've ever read. And again, I don't mean any offense if you have read these books and liked them. I personally just did not think they were good. So the first one is called Oppression, which is the first book in a series called Children of the Gods. And I rated this book 2 stars. This book has the epitome of insta-love in it. And in my review, I talk about how all the main character ever says about her boyfriend is how cute he is, how hot he is, how beautiful his eyes are, how wonderful his smile is, and absolutely nothing about his personality. And I also felt like the plot was very slow and uneventful, except for right at the very end. And there was a side character who was much more interesting, while all the other characters were pretty much one-sided. The characters in the book have special powers, and it almost seemed as if those powers were supposed to make the characters interesting other than what those people were actually like. Oppression has 1,700 ratings on Goodreads, which isn't very many, and there are 2 other books in the series that came out, and the last one, number 3, only has 100 ratings. So I don't think it did very well. And the last book I'm going to talk about is another one of the worst books I've ever read, and that one is Harken by Caleb Nation. I think at the time I was a little bit familiar with Caleb Nation and his YouTube channel, and he talked about books and writing, and I don't remember how I ever came across his channel, but he released a book called Harken, and I read it and did not like it whatsoever. I rated this one 1 star, and I read this as an ebook, and it was 40% acknowledgements. So when you get to 60%, you're done with the book. And actually, I was rather relieved because I didn't enjoy reading it. In my review, I said that the writing is pretty awful and it seemed pretty forced, like he was trying too hard to have good and moving writing, or maybe not trying enough. And it could have used a lot of editing, and there were a lot of similes that didn't really make sense or describe what's going on and were completely unnecessary. And the main character in the book has this kind of special power called glimpsing, where I think he could read into the mind of the person he was photographing, but really in the end it didn't seem like that awesome of a skill, because anyone who is good at kind of just paying attention to people and reading emotions could have come up with the same analysis that the main character in this book did. And I also say that I knew within the first chapter I wasn't going to like the book, but I don't like to quit and wanted to give the book more of a chance than that. And this was back in 2013, so it was a few years ago, and I don't think I would have continued beyond the first chapter if I had decided to read this book today. I probably wouldn't even attempt to start reading it today. Harken only has 629 ratings on Goodreads, with an average rating of 4.03, and looking through some of the other reviews, other people really loved it and there was a lot of hype around it at the time, but for me it was just not good quality writing. So those are 2 books I forgot I read and 2 of the worst books I ever read. And after looking through these books, I noticed that they're all YA, and I definitely don't mean that I don't like YA, and it's not intended as a dig on YA itself. There are a lot of young adult books that I've read and loved, but that's just what it is. So I can't recommend any of these books to you. If there are any books you've read and absolutely hated that a lot of other people liked, or if there are books you forgot you read, maybe take a look through your Goodreads or whatever tracking system you use and see if anything has just slipped your mind. It's always interesting to see through the multitudes of books we read over the years what sticks around and what does not. So I hope you liked this video. I usually don't make a ton of negative reviews, so I do apologize if I have offended anyone, but I'm not too worried about it. So again, thank you for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye.